Now then, welcome Ladles and Jelly Spoons to I'm Kohigh Mathy's YouTube channel and this month's Retro Roundup, where we look at a selection of retro titles celebrating landmark anniversaries in this fine month of April. A month that 20 years ago saw the Enix Corporation and Square officially merge, forming Square Enix, as well as 25 years ago seeing the Game Boy Light release exclusively in Japan. But for those of you who are new to I'm Kohigh Mathy's YouTube channel, here is the story so far. Old, greasy, mad Rasputin Dicky, he of the dirty matted hair and monk's habit, on which we need not elaborate, genuflected in front of the Tsar, son of Ivan the Terrible, engaged the even more terrible, father of all the Russias, but he pleaded the headaches. By his side sat his two daughters, hoity wayward tomboy, fantastic Mr. Connor, and shy, demure Anastasia Tom, she of the arch smile and fluted transcendent. The Tsar inclined his head towards Rasputin as the mad monk whispered his demands for money. But Engaged the Terrible shook his head as if to say, "You can't get a silk purse out of a Tsar's ear." Rasputin's face convulsed with insane rage, and he pointed a terrible finger at the Tsar and screamed out the words, "In the town where I was born." That was Pat Whitemuffin, who police say foul play cannot be ruled out. Welcome, Ladles and Jelly Spoons, to Kohigh Mathy's Retro Roundup. April 1993 saw the following games hit shop shelves. The Seventh Guest, an interactive movie puzzle adventure game produced by Trilobite and originally released by Virgin Interactive Entertainment. It is one of the first video games to be released on CD-ROM only. The Seventh Guest is a horror story told from the unfolding perspective of the player, an amnesiac. The game received a great amount of press attention for making live-action video clips as a core part of its gameplay, for its unprecedented amount of pre-rendered 3D graphics, and for its adult content. In addition, the game was very successful, with over 2 million copies sold. The Seventh Guest has subsequently been released on Apple's App Store for various systems, and Bill Gates called The Seventh Guest the new standard in interactive entertainment.
If you think my eyes are big, you should see my teeth.
Right, now this game without doubt is going to get the Friday 5-minute facts treatment at some point. But for now, all you need to know is that The Seventh Guest appears in the book 1001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die by Tony Mott. And it's another one that we'd like to see Mr. B take a crack at.
How many has he tried so far?
Yeah, moving on, I guess. A platform game developed and published by Virgin Games for the Sega Mega Drive/Genesis and Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The game was ported to the Sega Master System and Game Gear, the Game Boy, and the Amiga and MS-DOS in 1994. The title character is Cool Spot, the mascot for the soft drink brand 7-Up. Cool Spot's appearance in his own video game came at a time when other brand mascots, like Chester Cheetah and the Noids, were also appearing in their own video games. If you're old enough to have played these games when they first came out, please do let us know in the comments section down below. Now, before I continue, I just want to say good news to all people with big feet. They are widening the pavements in London. And why do people with big feet always seem to win at video games? Now then, we'll have none of that. 1998 now. Do any of you remember these games that are turning 25? Might and Magic 6, The Mandate of Heaven, commonly abbreviated to Might and Magic 6 or simply MM6, a role-playing video game developed by New World Computing and published by 3DO. It is the 6th installment in the Might and Magic series, a sequel to Might and Magic 5, Dark Side of Xeen, and the first of the Might and Magic titles to take place on the same planet as Heroes of Might and Magic. It continues the storyline of Heroes of Might and Magic 2 and takes place at the same time as Heroes of Might and Magic 3 in the series chronology. The game was compared favourably to its peers, role-playing video games such as Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall.
Critics praised it for its non-linear gameplay, user-friendly premise, interactive detailed game world, and polished, bug-free initial release. GT64 Championship Edition, also known as Seito Grand Prix Zen Nihon GT Senshuken in Japan, a racing video game developed by Imagineer and released for the Nintendo 64. It is an officially licensed game of the All Japan GT Championship, featuring cars and drivers of the 1997 All Japan Grand Prix Touring Car Championship. The game features a ranking system comparable to Gran Turismo. Unlike the original version, which features tracks set in the US and Europe, the Japanese version features 2 tracks set in Japan. The game supports the N64 Rumble Pack.
Right, you calm down now, lad. Maybe you should take some time off from, talking about video games. Have you considered showing the good people at home how to make pancakes?
Seems a pity to fritter away the time.
Maybe you should get away from it all. When I have some free time, I like to go to Birmingham.
You have family there?
No, I'm just desperate to fill the time.
Well, now we wait for the comments from Birmingham. And while we wait, let's have a look at a couple of games from 2003 that are turning 20 years old. Midnight Club 2, a racing video game developed by Rockstar San Diego and published by Rockstar Games. It is the sequel to Midnight Club Street Racing and came out for the PlayStation 2, Xbox and PC. It is the first game in the series to feature motorcycles, and players can race through cities based on Los Angeles, Paris and Tokyo. The game was followed by Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. Crazy Taxi Catch a Ride, a racing action video game for the Game Boy Advance. Part of the Crazy Taxi series, it was developed by Graphic State and published by THQ in the United States and Sega in Europe. The game is an attempt to port the original Crazy Taxi to the Game Boy Advance, featuring 2 cities, 9 Crazy Box minigames and all 4 cabbies from the original game.
Yo, that's great!
Here, lad, we've had a letter from Birmingham.
My lord, that was fast. What does it say?
Alright, it says, Dear Boy Mathy, Leith, Pith and that puppet. Your YouTube channel is the worst thing on YouTube. It's positively disgusting. Unmitigated rubbish. You should never have been allowed on the platform in the first place. It's about time you were put in the stocks and pelted with rotten tomatoes. Signed, a well-wisher.
Well, I can only really wish that they fall into a well now, can't I? Where was I? Oh yes, the final stop on this month's Retro Roundup train, April 2013. As always, these titles aren't really retro, but it will probably surprise you to learn that they are now 10 years old. Injustice: Gods Among Us, a fighting video game and the first installment in the Injustice franchise based upon the fictional universe of DC Comics. The game was developed by NetherRealm Studios and published by Warner Bros. Interactive Entertainment for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and Wii U. An expanded version of the game, entitled Injustice: Gods Among Us Ultimate Edition, was released in November of the same year, and a free-to-play mobile app based on Injustice was also released for iOS and Android devices, as well as a prequel comic book written by Tom Taylor.
Don't get it.
Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, a first-person shooter video game developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published by Ubisoft. It is a standalone expansion to Far Cry 3 and the 8th overall installment of the Far Cry franchise. Blood Dragon is a retro-futuristic parody of 1980s action films, cartoons and video games, and takes place on an open-world island. Players assume the role of military cyborg Sergeant Rex Power Colt. Gameplay is largely similar to Far Cry 3, though several systems from the base game were simplified or removed, and it introduces the titular blood dragon, a massive reptile-like creature that can shoot lasers from its eyes and be lured to attack hostile outposts.
Objective complete. Mainframe located.
Well, you know what? I feel a packed player's coming on.
I'm not sure about that, you know. I mean, if we've learnt anything from the Retro Ghetto, then we must...
Keep it retro.
Please do remember to nip over to the Retro Ghetto and tell him that we sent you. He is a cracking fella and well worth a watch. And with that brings this month's episode of Retro Roundup to an end. If you've enjoyed it, then please be sure to click the like button and be sure to let us know if you played any of the games that we have talked about. If you've made it to the end of the video and you're not subscribed to the channel, then I highly recommend subscribing and making sure that you click the bell so that you're informed every single time we upload a video. And finally, I'll leave you with this. Does a parcel packer ever get wrapped up in his work? Cheerio. See you soon.